Jacob a son. So there's all this jealousy going back and forth. So Leah has children. Rachel can't have children, so Rachel's servant Bilhah has children. So then Leah gets jealous. Leah says, okay, here's my servant. And she goes, and she eventually has 2 children. And by the time all is said and done, at the end, miraculously, Rachel is able to have children, and she has 2 children. All of them boys, by the way. So here's what happened by the time all is said and done. Is it appears from us as outsiders watching the story transpire that Jacob is making a mess. That's why I said this looks more like something you see in a Jerry Springer show than something you see in the Bible. Jacob has 12 sons with 4 different women. 6 he has with Leah, 2 he has with Bilhah, 2 he has with Zilpah, and 2 he eventually has with Rachel. Of the 2 he has with Rachel, the first one is Joseph, who ends up becoming his favorite child. And we'll actually talk about him a little bit next week. But we see all this and we're like, man, that is just a mess. Like I look at that, I'm like, wait a minute. When I read in the New Testament, when I read in Hebrews, this whole thing started with him being a patriarch of the faith. And I look at that and I say, I don't know about you, but if there's someone in our church like this right now, we would shun him and probably kick him out of church for all the stuff that he's doing. And yet the Bible looks at him and says, man, that's a patriarch of the faith. How does that happen? Here's the thing we see over and over, is that God takes our mess and he makes it his message. Like for every one of us, whatever our past was, our past doesn't define us. In fact, one of the things we talk about over and over is that at Ridgepoint Church, one of the pillars of what we do as a church is we never want anyone defined by their lowest moment. Because we've all had lowest moments. We've all had mistakes that we've made. And we're never going to find someone and judge someone because of those lowest moments, but realize that, man, in the midst of my lowest moment, there is grace upon grace for that moment. And God can take our mess and make it his message. And our desire in our life is to say, God, how can the mess that I've made of my life become the very message that I start to trumpet to a world that needs to know the hope that Jesus offers?